We are now joined on the show by the curators of Night Currents Festival. How you guys doing?
Hello.
We're good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. So Night Current, this is the second or third year now, isn't it?
It's the second year.
Second
Yeah.
year, yeah. So for people obviously maybe have not discovered Night Currents from last year, what sort of vibe is it? How what was the vibe last year?
Last year it was kind of it was a bit more kind of post-punky
Yeah.
than this year, I think.
Last year we had bands like Gengar, Le Objectif, Youth Sector, Shelf Lives. It was quite a mix of stuff of like indie stuff that we really liked and like more upcoming like punky post-punk stuff. And there's still definitely that this year as well. It's music that we love, so that stuff is just going to keep cropping up. But last year we just loved the energy of everyone kind of coming up to us at the end and saying how much fun they had that we just knew we had to come back and do it again.
I mean, this year, as soon as you announced the headliner, I was like, that's awesome because you got Coach
Yeah,
Party headlining, which is just
Yes. Yeah,
insane.
we do. Thank you
That's
very
yeah,
much.
yeah.
I was gonna say when you got that one in the bag, that must have been like a yes moment.
God.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I remember I was really ill with pneumonia at the time, and I
Wow.
remember just being at home and getting that email and just being like, "It's fine, I'm cured. We've fixed me."
Yeah, like you said, it's a relatively new festival. It's at the Wedge Rooms in Portsmouth, isn't it?
Yes.
And you take over both the edge of the wedge and the wedge.
Yeah, yeah. It's both rooms that are like conjoined, so you don't have to walk to a different venue, you don't have to walk across a site to another tent. It's very convenient, and it's all indoors. But there's the edge of the wedge, which is the smaller room, which is a bit more sweaty and a bit more intimate, and then the main room where we've got bands like Courting and Coach Party playing.
So with obviously this is his second year, right, for a festival. The first year was a success. Now you're doing it a second year. Does it now feel like, oh, this is now becoming a thing rather than just like a one-off, maybe we'll try, see it, and it was success and we'll leave it at that. But you go, we'll try it again. And now second year, you've got an amazing headline, you've got a great lineup. You know, like, oh, this is now a thing now.
Yeah, we definitely like after the first year we were like, well, we have to do it again. And then we just all kind of looking at each other debating how we can make it better than the first year. I mean, obviously, it's going to be to everyone's tastes and stuff, but yeah, we wanted it to be bigger and just to expand on what
Yeah.
we'd accomplished in the first year.
We've added two extra slots, so it's 12 bands this year, but we still think that's like a great amount of bands just to see in one day. And you get to see all of them, which is really good because both rooms are right next door to each other and there's no clashes. It's like if we add in just two extra bands, it's still 12 really sick bands that everyone gets to see, and just like expanding it, making it bigger and better, like we said. And just still like chasing bands that like to us is like, who would we love to have? Let's go for it. And it's somehow worked out for us, which is brilliant.
So we're Coach Pie like one of those bands you're like, we'll try. And if they say no, that's fine. We won't really expect them to say yes.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of dropped the agent a line in the hopes that he would offer them up. 'Cause so yeah, he like I said, oh, have you got any suggestions? And then they cropped up, and I was like, okay, what should we do to make this work? And
Yeah.
it worked out. I mean, they've headlined the Wedge before a couple of times,
Yeah,
and they've done really well both times. So it's cool to bring them back. I think it's third year in a row.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And like the past 2 years, they've like, I mean, they've sold it out. It's been packed. And last year was just after they'd released their album Killjoy, and like the just like the energy in the room is just fantastic every time. You just know they're going to be an amazing band to see. I mean, we just love them personally, and we even went to go see them the other
at the
week.
Boiler Room, yeah.
Yeah, in Guildford, because we're just such fans, and they played a new song from their upcoming album, which hasn't been released yet, and it went so hard, and we loved it. So anyone who's coming who gets to hear that song live, they're just going to be blown away because you just know whatever they're cooking up for that album too, oh, it's so good.
So you said you've also got 12 bands this year. So what time are you doors opening? Because it's a Saturday, so most people don't have to get a day off work. So what time are you kicking things off?
Doors open at 3:30.
Okay.
So it's not too early because I feel like with a lot of kind of day festivals, you get a bit fatigued if you start like first thing and then going on through to midnight or whatever. So yeah, but because you haven't got the changeover times in between, it kind of truncates it and like you get more for your money, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, so 3:30, first band on at 4. So, and then it's just like non-stop. And it's just like, yeah, the day goes by so quickly, but you don't really like notice it because you've just had like non-stop fun, like just seeing bands you love or bands you've like never heard of before. But it's just like such fun, yeah.
I think that's the one of the things I love about festivals, and especially the way that you guys do it. Obviously, the same way Golden Touch do it, but with the
Yeah.
switching the stages, so there is no clashes, so you can always
Mm.
see bands. Because I go to a lot of festivals, and you kind of sometimes you get a bit lazy and you just sit on the main stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, my favorite band's on in like 3 bands time. I'll just stay here. But like with you, you're like, okay, I can see everyone, so actually I'm going to see someone that I've not heard of before,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
discover somebody new. So on the lineup, who would you say would be like your number one pick for someone, for someone that you're most excited for someone to see?
I was really excited when we secured Isaiah, who's playing just before our sub headliner on the main stage, because we'd we've been aware of uh, like her work for quite a while, and we just kind of floated the idea just as a kind of thing. But yeah, we managed to get that kind of wrapped up really quickly, and like she's doing really well at the moment. She headlines the introducing stage at Reading and Leeds. And she's bringing out some really good singles,
Yeah.
and
She played Bloodfest, Young Bloods Festival a few weeks ago. So, and she's toured with like Black Honey and The Vaccine. So, if you like any of that sort of indie rock stuff, anything a bit alternative, or even just a bit like it's a bit like poppy as well, I think she's a really cool find. And I just see her becoming like so big because who can't love that sort of sound? And then for me, um, is a band that I've loved for so many years called Slutface from Norway, who are like it's quite sort of pop punky. I saw them in Southampton and supporting Pup, the Canadian band, like a few years ago. And I was just like blown away by how energetic they were. And they were the opening band and people were crowd surfing. So if you're like me, an old emo at heart, you love anything pop punk, they're for you. Like they're right up the street.
Okay, well that sounds like me then, because
Yeah,
I go for an old school pop punk.
I mean,
Um,
I'm wearing an MCR shirt right now. They're for me, you know?
yeah, but it is a really exciting lineup, and I love the fact that, like I said, you can see everyone because I've heard loose articles before. I've seen them because they were at 2000 Trees, but I didn't catch them there. But
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of
yeah,
people talking about those guys as well, so that'd be quite an
yeah,
exciting one to catch.
yeah. They supported Foo Fighters in Manchester.
yeah,
Oh,
they
who?
did. Yeah, yeah. Like they played this sold out massive stadium in Manchester with Foo Fighters and like that's so cool for them. And like they're just like, yeah, punky, like fierce. If you love anyone like Lambrini Girls or Sprints, I feel like they're for you. And just I'm so excited to like get in the mosh pit and get really sweaty to them.
I love that. I love the fact that you've got bands that have played big stages and they bring that energy, obviously, to the Wedge because the Wedge is one of the best places in the world. Like one of my two favorite places are the Joiners and the Wedge. They both just have
Yeah.
an energy about them that is just
Yeah.
perfect. And like every time you go to a gig there, it's just like everyone is there for the show. And like sometimes you go to
Yeah,
the bigger shows and the energy can dissipate a little bit because there's some people don't really care for what's going on, but
Mm.
when you go to those smaller places, you can just feel it, can't you? Especially in the Wedge
Yeah.
and in the Joiners, it's just that passion that just lives there. I think.
yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah, for
such
sure.
a lovely sense of community whenever we go to these shows because like it'll be either someone I've just met at a gig or we've been friends, or I've just seen them at other gigs, and we turn to each other and we discuss, and we're like, oh, those guys were really good. I hope we get to see them again. And like, it's such a nice sense of community to just turn to someone next to you and you're both experiencing the same like mind-blowing band, and it's a really lovely experience.
I know obviously this is only the second year, and obviously year one was successful. So year two, is it looking like it's going to be all right so far? Like, is everything going as well as it should be at the moment?
Well, we have just had a band drop out because one of the members is having an operation. So understandable.
Yeah.
But we're looking to replace them in the next couple of weeks. But apart from that, everything's looking
Yeah.
pretty good so far. So we're yeah, really excited about
Yeah. We're just
having everyone in the room, just like enjoying the music. It's just
I mean, yeah, I'm just excited. I just had the best day ever last year. Obviously, it's bands that I've picked out that I really like, which is the best part. But just, yeah, the energy of just like people who are discovering new acts or seeing a favorite act. Like I know Arcs are like a fan favorite in the area, and people just love to come along and see people sing their songs and sing along to like all the lyrics is just so lovely. So I'm really excited to see people seeing their fan favorites again, but also just discovering something new. Um, and that's kind of the most excited part of it. So as soon as yeah, we were booking these bands and they were bands that were on a list, like a dream list that we knew we wanted, it just like I was like, this is all coming together so nicely. So we're just like really looking forward to it actually happening.
Yeah. So obviously, because it's obviously going all right so far, are you already thinking about possibly doing year three? Like, is that in your mindset already, or you kind of want to see
yeah.
how this actually goes first?
I mean, obviously, you always need to see how it goes, whether it's kind of financially viable, because it's quite well documented. There's a lot of trouble in grassroots music
Yeah.
with like footfall and like cost of living, everything really. But yeah, we definitely view to do a third year, and we've got loads of artists from that kind of wish list that we'd either tried to get and they just couldn't make it work, or just we thought of after we'd kind of secured the whole lineup that we'd love to bring down for another year.
Yeah. Or even just bands that we thought, oh, that was a bit out of our league, let's not bother. But we thought that about Coach Party and we've got them. So that worked out. And maybe there'll be someone on that list that we can try for next year and that works out too. But yeah, the important thing is supporting kind of your venues, seeing artists that, you know, in however many years' time, they're going to be the ones playing the headlining the stadiums. This is where it all starts, and that's why it's so important to come see your local shows, support your local venues. You know, this is where you're going to see those bands, and you're going to say, "I'm so glad I saw them in that tiny, sweaty room. Now
Yeah.
look at them."
See, I love that, and I love like what you guys are doing. I love what like there's a few other promoters in the area that are putting on, day festivals in the smaller venues or doing like there was one in Southampton which had a couple of different venues.
Wanderlust,
Yeah,
yeah.
Wanderlust.
Yeah.
I love the fact because it is a case of supporting these venues because without them, you know, there's so many stories you hear from bands like, oh yeah, played the Wedge or they played the Joiners or the Railway in Winchester and places like that.
Yeah.
And these places have real significance in somebody's development and growth. And without them, yeah, like it would be such a sad place. My first ever gig was the Wedge, like
Oh,
Nice.
who did you
2000, and
see?
it was Kitty. They were supported by Sixth and Shadows Fall.
Awesome.
It was like 2005. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the first gigs I ever went to were probably at the Wedgewood Rooms. Like probably seeing someone like We Are the In Crowd when I was like a little like emo teenager. And I never really grew out of it, but now I get to do that for a living and like provide that experience to young people who are only just sort of getting into live music and this is their first foot into it.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Because one thing as well is I can't remember who there was somebody I was speaking to. I think it might have been Frank Turner, but he was saying like the importance of these venues isn't just for growth for your Ed Sheerans to become
Yeah.
your Ed Sheerans. It's also for the bands that the Wedgewood Room is the biggest place they'll ever play because of the type of music that they are. Like
Mhm.
that is the. But why should that someone be deprived of that because the venues have gone? Why should that whole subgenre of music not have its place to shine? Because that maybe there's certain bands that are never going to be playing Wembley Stadium because it's just
Yeah.
there's not enough people that are into deathcore.
Yeah.
But it's just why it's so important, and I love the fact that you guys are supporting it, in a way that is it's supported a shed load of bands. You've got 12 bands on the lineup, so they're all getting supported, getting exposure, getting paid, and all that sort of stuff. And then you got the venue, they're making money, they're getting people in, and then obviously they might see a poster on the door when they're there and go, oh, actually, I'll come to that. Or they'll see a band, they go, actually, I want to check out when they're on tour, pick up some merch. Like all these things are just like, yeah, they are the grassroots, they are the foundations of supporting music at its core, and it's just awesome.
Yeah. It is so kind of magical that this is kind of something we get to do all the time, whether that's just sort of Ben working as a sound engineer or putting on your ABH promotion shows or doing night currents once a year, to see the people that come in, and they might be someone who only comes to a gig like once or twice a year, and they kind of just like look around at the posters and they get interested, and you have conversations with them, and they're learning so much about a place that they didn't really know was so important to not only just like the local community, but just like wider. If anyone cares about music, this is where it starts.
Yeah.
And this is where the heart of it is. And there's just, yeah, nothing more special than getting to meet people and connect with people who are, caring about music the way you do. It's just so nice.
At the end of the day, the fans make the gigs, and you've got like avid supporters of the venue, like yourself, and there's a few people that I see at almost every show,
Yeah.
like no matter what genre it is, and they're just I mean they're brutally honest about whether they like the bands or not, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
It's just like you want to kind of strive to see the best music you can, and I feel like grassroots level is kind of where you see that.
Yeah.
Because people are more experimenting with their craft, and you could find someone like really special.
So, talk about obviously the smaller venues. Who is the biggest act today that you've seen in a small venue? So, because I think it was probably about 10 years ago, I think it was, but I saw Nothing But Thieves supporting Young Guns at the Boiler Room.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
and they blew us away. Then they just came out. And I was like, who the hell are these guys? Like, they were
Yeah.
insane. And obviously now they're selling out the O2. So, like, who is like the biggest band you've seen in the smallest venue?
Well, I saw Catfish and the Bottom at the Wedge, which they're now
Yeah, they're doing all
playing
right.
Stadiums.
at
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I remember seeing 21 Pilots at the Wedge, and now they're doing the O2, selling that
When the
out.
hell did the 21 Pilots play the Wedge?
This was 2014. This was on
the Killers have played
yeah,
it, the Strokes.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. I mean, we mentioned these names, and like everyone is always surprised when you have this chat of like, I was talking to my friends the other week about like what are the biggest bands that have played like these local venues, and obviously Oasis is a name on everyone's lips at the moment. Someone who
Joiners and the Wedge
they've
both
played,
on that
yeah,
tour.
they've played these venues, and now look at them, they're just iconic. And this is a conversation that is just so amazing to have, because any of the bands you could go and see at any gig, whether that's at Night Currents Festival or at any of your local shows, like that could be the next big name, and that's so cool. But yeah, I think fondly back on kind of those shows I saw, like growing up and seeing how like well done these bands are doing now, and they started out at this level at playing these sorts of shows. And it's just like amazing, and you get to brag about it as well, which is the best part. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because I saw Catfish at the Joiners when they were there.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
knew them just beforehand. Um, Oh, that's I did 21 Pilots. That's college. That's only 10 years ago as well.
Yeah, and
They
look
are,
how far they've come in 10 years. Like,
and they're doing all right for themselves, aren't they?
yeah, they're doing pretty good. But yeah, that's one that like will always be really special to me. I was probably like 15. I was so impressionable, and to like see them. And the best part about that is my dad went with me because I was young and he didn't like their music. And now he brags about it to everyone that he got to see them there. He got to see them at the Wedgewood Rooms to like 400 people. And he tells everyone, but he didn't even like them at the time. So you could be that person. You could
Yeah.
brag.
And obviously you said about Oasis because there was a thing I saw that the Music Venue Trust put up, which
Mm.
was Oasis' first ever tour. There was something like 15 or 16 venues. The Joiners was one of them, and there's only like 4 venues left from that list
Yeah.
because all the rest have closed down. So that's why
Yeah.
these things are so important. People going along and just investing, just a price of a couple of pints for a ticket,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and
Yeah.
it really helps these venues out and keeps things going because yeah, can you imagine if you know Oasis weren't a thing? Like,
Yeah.
what would have people moaned about for the last 15 years?
It would be so boring. But yeah, and for the smallest thing of like even buying a pint at your local venue or buying band merch is what, keeps people going. Like these the venues rely on it to keep, putting on really amazing acts. The bands rely on you buying merch or vinyl or whatever to keep making great music and being able to afford to tour. So it's so important. And then you get the best thing out of that. You get a great experience as well, and something that you're always going to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I've got so many stories of just live gigs and things,
Yeah.
like especially the Wedge. I remember once when Hatebreed were there, which is always an insane show to put on the Wedge, but there was literally a circle pit from the front to the sound desk and to the doors either side.
Yeah.
And like the bouncers just gave up. They were just like, right, everyone is involved now. Like the only people that escaped were people just running into the bar and into the toilets. Besides that, everyone was in a circle pit. Like, all right, well, I have no choice. But
Yeah.
like, it was so cool because it was there. It was at the Wedge, but that must have
Yeah.
been 15 years ago.
Mm.
And I can still remember that. And then like I got a million stories from the pyramids, but the pyramids is no longer. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
shame because that was a perfect venue for like quite big American bands would play the
Yeah.
Yeah.
pyramids for
Yeah.
like
It was a great venue.
Yeah. We've all kind of got memories of going to shows there. It was one of like the key shows for me growing up in Portsmouth. And yeah, it's a shame that's gone, but it really makes me value venues like Heartbreakers and Joiners and the Wedge in 1865, where there's all these kind of different levels of acts that I can go and see, and they're on my doorstep.
yeah.
Like it's so easy to do it and so affordable as well. Um, I feel like I don't really go to many big stadium gigs very often. But for the price of just going to like one of those, I could probably go and see 6 local shows and see probably like 20 bands.
Yeah.
Just be fantastic.
So I think that's the one thing because I'm from Fareham, so I kind of grew up listening to all my music in Portsmouth. I went to all my gigs at the
Mm.
Wedge and stuff like that. But obviously now I
Yeah.
work in Southampton, and I think Southampton's quite lucky. Like you said,
Yeah.
we've got loads of venues that have all survived, and we got the
Yeah.
perfect sizes, from the Joiners, Heartbreakers, 1865, the Engine Rooms and stuff. And I think Portsmouth, it's kind of sad. It's basically just pretty much the Wedge left now, and then obviously got the
And the
box, the Guild
Guildhall.
Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it seems to be depleting. So like, but the Wedge is important. That's like one of the hearts of the South Coast that we need to
Yeah.
protect that with our lives because
Yeah.
it's just one
Yeah.
of the
I mean,
best.
it's all a an infrastructure thing. Like with Southampton, because you've got so many venues, you can see these bands progress all the way through, and it's um it's really nice to see that the Southampton kind of gig goers have kept that scene like thriving, and Portsmouth it has suffered from losing the pyramids because there isn't that stepping stone between the
Yeah.
Wedge and the Guildhall. So when you do get big bands come to Portsmouth, you need to support them because
Yeah.
otherwise it's just not gonna happen again.
Yeah, it's so important to just see whether that's at the Wedge or at Portsmouth Guildhall or whatever. Like it's so important to go just support these gigs and show people that there's an interest to, in the live music scene down here. And, thankfully, Southampton has so many great different venues at different sizes where you keep seeing different acts at different levels throughout their career just come back and like sell out these just awesome shows from like tiny heartbreakers to the bigger rooms like engine rooms, and that's so cool. And I really appreciate it, and being able to go between these two cities is just so convenient and just so lovely to have both of these cities like on our doorstep and just have so much to pick from as well. It's just like I'm really grateful that the venues that we have left are still going, and
We, and we
definitely
all,
seeing like
yeah, and we also have really amazing talent along the south coast, like the Isle of Wight, Southampton, and Portsmouth. Some amazing acts in the last couple of years are really starting to like branch out. Obviously, Crystal Ties have just sold out Portsmouth Guildhall.
Yeah,
yeah
that
It's
was
insane.
crazy. And Billy, who's involved in Night Currents, manages them, and he's like so emotional, really, with
yeah
it. Just seeing like his children almost like
yeah
go on and just like achieve this level of
yeah
success is it's really great to see.
Yeah, because I've seen them at the Joiners, the Wedge, and the Engine Rooms, and then the Guildhall. It's like a perfect little.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
And then
they're
obviously,
just a great example of a local band who have just gotten bigger and kept improving, and it's so great to see. And there's lots of other sort of newcomers doing that as well. And then also I find it really cool that the Isle of Wight have such awesome like bands coming out of it, from Wet Leg to obviously Coach Party to Lauren Hibbard, Ugly
the
Ozo,
pill.
The Pill. Like we're calling Night Currents this year an Isle of Wight sandwich, because the first band you can see is The Pill and the last band is Coach Party. So you're sandwiched between just two really awesome Isle of Wight bands that we love and we think are just so amazing live.
it's weird with the Isle of Wight because I don't think I've ever heard of a band from the Isle of Wight. Then suddenly, like in the last 5 years,
Yeah,
had just like amazing bands come out. Like, where have all these been for the years?
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I really enjoy it, and I mean it kind of just feels like a local band in our hearts, because seeing anyone come from the South Coast, you feel almost like proud of them to see them like achieving these sorts of levels of success. And
Yeah,
it definitely feels like like they're
yes.
one of ours, and you feel
Yeah.
you feel really
Seeing Wet Leg
happy.
at Victorious on the Castle stage headlining was a
Yeah,
pretty cool experience.
yeah. And you could tell, like, I could hear like so many murmurs of people around me just saying, like, "Oh, isn't it really cool? They're from the Isle of Wight," and people saying, "Oh, I know them. I'm friends with their mum or something." And it's just like, oh, this is really special to see, and like to see local acts just absolutely smashing it.
Yeah, my class was local. You can see the Isle of Wight. It's fine.
Yeah,
From
Yeah,
Portsmouth and
exactly.
Southampton, you can see it. It's
Maybe on a
fine.
nicer day than
yeah.
today, but
Yeah,
If we can get there on a hovercraft in 10 minutes,
it's
it
local.
must be local.
yeah, it's local.
So obviously, yeah. So the 5th of October. So it's a Saturday, which is
Mhm.
always the best day for a gig.
Yeah,
And
Yes.
I love the fact that 3:30. It's a good time. Like you said, you're not going to get too knackered by the time it get 10 runs around. You're
yeah.
like, oh, I
Yeah.
just need to be in bed now. Yeah. So if people want to pick up tickets, I'm guessing the Wedges website is the best place for them to get them.
Yeah, you can pick them up from the Wedge. They're also on Ticket Web and Eventim now. Um, so yeah, there's loads of places to pick up
Yeah.
tickets. There's
Yeah, super easy to find either the Wedgewood Rooms website. Just give it a Google. We've got the Night Currents website, or on our like Instagram or Facebook, there'll be the links. It's so easy. But just great value for money for a whole day of just great entertainment. And just amazing bands that you're going to fall in love with, or there'll be favorites that you already know you love. So guaranteed to have a great time.
And that is a perfect way to end it. So yeah, so thank you so much. So yeah, Night Currents Festival, Saturday the 5th of October at the Wedgewood Rooms in Portsmouth. Go along and see some amazing acts, including Coach Party, who are just legendary. You got the Pill, you got Loose Articles, just yeah, an awesome bunch of acts. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for putting on and coming to chat to me.
Thank you
Thanks,
for having us on.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.